Hello friends, today we are saying goodbye to the winter annuals and we are saying hello to summer annuals. We are going to be planting the first proven winter annuals of the season in the landscape. That is right, my friends. Here in North Carolina, Zone 8A, we are blessed that we can plant certain cool-tolerant annuals very early. They can handle a light frost, those cooler temperatures in the fluctuating spring. And so I am so excited. We're going to be planting. We're going to keep it simple, but I am going to share with you kind of my master plan and why I am choosing these colors for the gardens this year. We are up here at the garden boxes, as if you can see. So we're going to be focusing on two areas. Like I said, I'm keeping it simple. I'm trying to pace myself this year because if you remember that delivery of the Proven Winter Annuals, I've got one or two plants to put in the ground this year. So we're going to take our time, but be very intentional and productive at the same time. So what we're going to do is we are going to be doing a mass planting of Supertunia Mini Vista Hot Pink, because you know how much I love some pink flowers. So we're going to do that along the base of the wall here, and then tying in the landscape design all together, we're going to come up just on top of the steps going up to the chicken coop, and we're going to plant an aqua pot and tie in this garden with the garden at the chicken coop. So first of all, we're going to focus on the wall. So let me show you where we are and the plants that are going in and how I'm going to do it. Like I said, we're keeping it simple, sweetie. We are going to be doing a mass planting of the Proven Winners Mini Vista Hot Pink Petunia. Y'all, this is such a fantastic, beautiful annual that is going to give us mass color for a ton of the season. I cannot wait for this. Now, why am I choosing Mini Vista Hot Pink? Because we're going to be planting right along the edge of the wall here. Of course, this is the retaining wall. Behind the wall is Hydrangea Hill. And then you can probably hear my girls, they're up there just cackling at me. So we're going to focus on this narrow spot right here along the base of the wall. Last year in this exact space, I had Supertunia Vista Bubblegum. Now, if you know the difference between a Vista Bubblegum and a Mini Vista, then, right, so vigor. The reason I laugh is because Bubblegum, she don't play. And so while it was gorgeous, that was last year. My shrubs and my other perennials in here have grown in a year. So I do not need the vigor and the size of Supertunia Vista Bubblegum, but I still want that mass color impact. So that's why I'm going with Mini Vista Hot Pink. Yes, it's going to be a little bit of a richer pink than Bubblegum, but it is not going to be as tall and as wide and as trailing. Still going to get a mass. So what we're going to do, because I am standing at the wall, and this soil is relatively loose and tilthy, I'm not going to use my auger. So I have got my hand trowel right here. So we're just going to stand along the wall and just dig and plop and put in there. Now, of course, your petunias, they are very heavy feeders. So how are we going to prepare the soil so that these plants have enough food for themselves? This is my secret combo. This is the start of the secret combo. First, what we're going to use is the Biotona Starter Plus. This is for your strong root growth. So this is your starter plant food. It really focuses on a strong, healthy root system. So while I do have irrigation in this bed, it is not a complete line. So it actually, for some reason, I don't know why, y'all, but it is what it is. We didn't extend it all the way down. So this portion doesn't have it right against the wall. So strong roots are very, very important. So we're going to add this first, and then we're going to come in with the Proven Winners. This is that continuous release plant food. So this is your slow release fertilizer. They are little pellets. It is released by temperature. And so we're going to put that directly in the ground. You can put it in the hole. You can put it on top of the hole. It really doesn't matter, y'all. There's grace in gardening. And so this is going to stand in between those times when I'm not using my liquid fertilizer. But because these are petunias, and petunias are very heavy feeders, you have got to feed the plants. Otherwise, you are not going to get the maximum flowers that you should be getting. So while I start with these two fertilizers, we're going to come back. The goal is to do it about every week, every 2 weeks with the Proven Winners liquid fertilizer. That is that one where you mix up 1 scoop of the mixture and you put it in 1 gallon of water, and then you just water as normal. So that's instant food for the plants. Keeps them green, keeps them compact, and keeps the flowers coming. So what I'm going to do is just set everything up, and I am going to do a mass planting. Yep, I said mass. We're going to be ignoring minimum spacing on this project, and so because I want a huge impact of color. Once we're going to get these in the ground, I'll show them to you, then we're going to head up to the aqua pot. My friends, I cannot wait to watch these Supertunia Mini Vista hot pinks explode, because it is going to be an absolutely stunning display of hot pink flowers here along the wall. Just imagine it, right? And it is not going to take long. They love cool temperatures. That's why if you're in a warmer zone, whether you're in the south or you're out west, you know that your Supertunias will not perform to the best of their abilities during the heat of the summer. During your highest temperatures, they don't perform well. They do perform really well, though, in these cooler, milder climates. Even into the 30s at night. I'm going to sneak up on this swallowtail butterfly. She is having the most fun on the phlox. Y'all, you know spring is here when the ground phlox is blooming. The butterflies are popping out. Brenna and I were walking Sunday morning, and I cannot tell you how many butterflies we saw. We clearly had a bumper crop of the yellow swallowtails, because my goodness, like literally probably 30 to 50 of them along the creek bank and at the signature garden. It was just so fun, and this butterfly is loving this phlox. So I digress, but she is just too pretty and too much fun to watch to not to give her the credit that she deserves. So there you go. I did ignore minimum spacing. They're probably about 8 to 10 inches apart. Your Mini Vista Hot Pink is going to be about 12 inches tall, and it will spread 2 feet. So at its in all its glory, it will be kind of high, and it will just come over and probably kiss the edge of the wall. So I'll still be able to see the wall, but it's not going to come over and overtake the wall. And it'll do just fine here in front of my shrubs, like my Pugster butterfly bush, and then of course the Montana moss down there. Now the Montana moss might get a little bit of a little trim to give it just a little bit more of a compact habit. I've not trimmed it yet. Typically you don't have to, but I want to keep it nice and thick, and so it doesn't get too wild and woolly on me. Now we are going to literally, all I did was turn around. We're going to head up here. The butterfly just keeps flitting around. Love it. We're going to head up here, and we're going to plant the aqua pot. So I have a design. This is something that I have learned as I have matured as a gardener and a garden designer. So let me clue you in on some little things I've learned. Okay, my friends. So what I have here is an aqua pot from Proven Winners. If you're not familiar with what an aqua pot is, it is a self-watering container. It is a saving grace to this southern gardener, especially in kind of remote areas like up here at the top of the steps. So a couple of design tips. If you've been following us this spring, you know that behind me, the woodland garden, trust me, it is a shade garden, doesn't look like it, but it is. I have a lot of these bright blue pots. So that is one design theme, right? Design tip. Repeat that same color through the garden. So I have the same shade of blue of my pots so that it brings cohesiveness and ties the garden in together. So not only does that work with your pots, but it also works with your plants. So where I did the Supertunia Mini Vista Hot Pink down on the wall, we're going to repeat that, and we're going to do some Mini Vista Hot Pinks here in the Aqua pot. Then to tie that bed into the chicken coop bed, we're going to use yellow as well. So I have got the Superbells yellow. Bright, clear, cheery, solid yellow. So we have a solid yellow bloom next to a solid hot pink bloom. To tie the gardens in yet again, I am going to use as my thriller the Suncredible Yellow Reblooming Sunflower. I'm only going to use one. Trust me, you only need one, and even one might be a little too much for this pot because they do great in the landscape, but I am going to be using the Suncredible Yellow in front of the chicken coop. So I will have several of them in front of the chicken coop, then I will have one here in the pot. Also at the chicken coop, I'm going to be using Supertunia Vista Snowdrift, which is a pure white petunia, nice and vigorous. It'll be gorgeous. So I have white there. I'm going to bring in white here. This is a great annual for your early or your cooler gardens. This is the Bright Lights White Osteo. Osteos are African daisies, and for me in the South, they do really, really well in my early spring, summer garden. During the summer, they kind of peter out because it's so hot, which will actually be a good thing because my Suncredible will have taken over the whole pot with my yellow and my pink spilling over. So when you look at the garden as a whole, standing back, you're going to see the mass planting of the Mini Vista Hot Pink along the wall, a little splash of it here, along with the yellow, and the yellow then ties into the chicken coop. So you don't always have to use the exact same plants, but we want to use that same color and repeat it throughout the garden. It doesn't have to be one color, it could be a couple of colors, but definitely one. So that is what we're going to do. Now, you've seen me plant containers a ton. Always start with brand new fresh soil, add your biotone, add your slow release fertilizer. We're gonna jam these babies in here. I'll show you what it looks like when we're done. My friends, ta-da, and the dog even posed for me. I didn't even ask her to. She just kind of knows where the camera's going to go, and that's where she went. So while the container may look a little thin at the moment, you're going to have to trust me that it is not going to be long, and the plants are going to be exploding out of this pot and be such a fun, like cheery summertime arrangement that is going to be absolutely gorgeous. Now, if you have never grown the reblooming sunflowers, whether it's, the Suncredible or a different brand, My one tip for you is if you're going to put it in a pot, make sure it's a very large pot. Full disclosure, I don't know that this sunflower will make it through the entire season just because it may outgrow the pot. Because in the landscape, for me, they can get to be like 3 to 4 feet tall and wide. The next tip is cut them and cut them often. The more you, quote, deadhead and cut off these beautiful, cheery little flowers, y'all don't throw them away. Just bring them in the house. They make great little cut flowers for bud vases and things. But the more you cut it, the stockier, the thicker, and the more flowers you're going to get. Do not be afraid to trim the sunflower and use them as cut flowers for your house. The Osteo Bright Lights White, they are just beginning to show me just a little bit of a bloom. If we can get the camera to focus, there we go. So that'll be a fun little pop of white. And then of course my Mini Vista Hot Pink and my Superbells Yellow, they're going to intermingle and be really fun together. Now I did use a total of 2 Mini Vista Hot Pinks, but 4 Superbells Yellow, because I find personally that the Superbells are a little bit on the slower as far as the vigor size, so I doubled them up so that they wouldn't be overtaken by the Mini Vista Hot Pink. So the only thing that you need to be aware of by planting, like if you did this exact arrangement at your house, like right now, is if we get a light frost or a freeze, I'm going to need to protect the sunflower. The other two will be fine, but the sunflower cannot handle that frost freeze. Good thing is it's still nice and petite, and so I can just put a large nursery pot on top of it or carefully construct some sort of cloth material on it. So just be aware of that. I would cautiously advise you say yes, that you can plant your reblooming sunflowers right now, but that is cautious because we still could have a threat of a frost or a freeze. But other than that, there you go, my friends, have at it. So hopefully this has been a little bit of fun. You've learned some things, the design tips of repeating those colors, whether it's containers with the blue throughout the garden, or if it's the same color of plant, even if it's a different plant throughout the garden, and it ties it all in together. So we hope you have had a fantastic day. Hopefully the sun is shining wherever it is that you may be. Spring is here, and if you don't have spring yet, I promise it will be there soon. Y'all have an amazing day. We'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.